Alright, so tried several times to install Arch on a MacBook Air. Get a shot of that there. This is a Model 3,2 MacBook Air. The first place you want to start, like any Arch install, is the Arch Linux Wiki. There's the MacBook page. As you scroll through here, you see that we're going to do an Arch Linux only install. And I highly recommend, if you're doing a Arch only, that you do the BIOS compatibility. And we're going to follow this scheme. We're going to go to Parted, going to make an MS-DOS table, and that way we can use the original grub in order to bypass this whole grub 2, which I tried to do and it just didn't work at all. So we're going to go into, I'm just going to hold the Option key down with the Arch CD. Of course, you're going to need an external hard drive, and later on you're going to need a dongle. Save yourself a huge headache and get a dongle for the Ethernet. The wireless from the MacBook Air is a nightmare. So get the dongle, it's well worth it. Save yourself some headache, like I said. So I'm going to set up the Parted and I'll be right back. Okay, so let's run Parted, just like it says. Type in Parted. Might have to fumble through this a bit. It's been a while since I've done it. Okay, so what dev do you want to do? We're going to go dev SDA, and just to get an idea, this already had Arch installed, so I'm just going to type in print. It's a little hard to see it there at the bottom, and you can see the setup there was a 200 meg for the boot, 2 gigs for swap, 50 gigs for home, 200 gigs for for 50 gigs for root, 200 gigs for home. So I'm going to go ahead and remove RM1 so we can step through it. RM2, RM3, RM4. Now I'm going to do print again. You can see there's nothing there. So now I'm going to do, and I have a link to the website. It looked like this when you get to it. Using Parted, and as you scroll down, we're going to want to make part, and it'll show you kind of the example of how to type it out. And so that's what we're going to do now. I step by it piecewise. Let's see if I can make this a little bit better. It's a little better. So we're going to do MK part, and we're going to want this as a primary. Type in primary. This is going to be our boot partition, so we want ext2. We want to start it, it doesn't like to start at 0, I just start at 40, and that's megabytes. End, give it 200 megs, so end at 240 megs. And let's do a print, and you can see we have a 200 megabyte partition. Again, Parted does the master boot record, and in order to use grub, you need to use Parted as opposed to CG disk, which is really popular in that MacBook tutorial for grub 2. Grub 2 can look at the GPT, and the regular grub, the old grub, needs an MBR, the master boot record. So that's what we're doing here. One last thing you want to do for that first one, you need to make it bootable. So you're going to do set, and that's 2.4.16. We're going to do set one boot on. So that means set partition 1 as bootable. So let's do that now. We're going to go set SET1 boot on. And let's do another print. And now you can see that it says it's bootable. So we're going to make another MK part. We're going to make another partition. We want this as primary. We want this as, this one's a little tricky. This is a swap, so just type in Linux dash or hyphen swap, open parenthesis, v1, close parenthesis, start at 240. I'm going to get it 2 gigs, so 2240. And let's give it a print, see where we are. I always print it out after every step just to make sure I do it right. So now we have a 200 meg extension 2 bootable boot partition. We have a 2 gig swap. So we'll just step through them. MK part, primary. We want this as ext4 for the root drive, or partition I should say. We want to start it at 2240. And I'm going to give it 50 gigs because, you know, I just want to make sure there's enough room. So I'm going to do 52240. Oops, too many. Okay, there we go. 52240. And we're going to do a print, make sure we know where we are. Got exactly 50 gigs for the primary extension 4, extended 4, sorry. And then an NK part, primary, ext4. I'm going to start it at 52.2 G, capital G for gigs. And if you look here, I have room up to 251, so I'm going to end it at 251 G. And give it a final print. Now we have everything we need. We have a bootable ex2 for the boot. We have a 2 gig swap. Plenty large root partition, 50 gigs. No worries about running out of room there for programs. And we're still left with 200 gigs for the home. So I'm going to go ahead and quit. So now we're at oops. So now we're at the original first stage install. Try to get you guys a decent view here. And then we're just going to jump in. Arch. By the way, I'm just using the most recent regular Arch setup, and I'm not using the boot. What do they call it? The Arch boot. It just was a pain in the butt. So this seems to work well enough. And until you get to the Nvidia card, then I haven't gotten past that step yet. Arch setup. Now this is going to be pretty stock. I'm going to step through it really quickly. I would assume that you could find a whole bunch of stuff out there for what you want to do here. Setting up the clocks, hard drives. You've already set it up, so you're going to go right into, you've already partitioned your hard drive, so you're going to go right into the configure. Mount file systems. You're going to have your SDA 1, 2, 3, and 4. You got your 200, all that stuff set up good and good to go. ext4, this is going to be your boot. I'm going to call it boot. And this is going to be your swap. To just call it swap. And this is going to be your root. Just call it root. And home. Done. This is all pretty stock. The only reason I'm rolling this through the usual install is there's another setup in this install bootloader phase, so we figure we might as well get there. So we got our partitions are good to go. Select packages. There's a couple notes here I suppose that we could talk about. Grub bootloader. I always include base devel. don't even know if I need dbus core, but I usually keep it anyways. Next one I do is mk init. I do nettools, pacman, sudo, and wireless. Install. Okay, I'm going to pause it here because this takes just a few seconds, a few minutes.